So, as part of like a mini project, I decided to build these vases, right? These vases, because for a while I hadn't done anything with Blender, and so I wanted to really retest my skills, right? So, what you just saw was the basic vase, and then later I added the new one. So then as I said, I started building this larger one, right? And first we extrude it, and then we drag out the top face, followed by adding a loop cut with about nine loop cuts, and then we extrude with proportional editing turned on, right? And then we do that for each of those center rings going down with alt click, so you can see on the bottom left my keys through screencast keys, and that should allow you to just get a grip of like what I'm actually doing. This vase was the first one that I built right before before I started making this video, and it actually turned out better the second time I made it than the first, and this is just starting to be a trend that I'm seeing with whenever I'm making things. I noticed that the second time I make things during the video, it actually turns out better than the first time. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because like mentally I have the ability to get all my thoughts together and actually lay it out in a more proper manner. But yeah. It's important that for all of these you make an extrusion down the bottom and then look at the z-axis and extrude a few millimeters, because what that allows is that it allows for the subdivision surface modifier. When you set it to 2 and then add it, it allows it to actually differentiate between the body of the vase and the bottom, the rim, right? And then we have that hole at the top. After I added that hole at the top, I actually had to go back and then shrink some of the stuff at the bottom as well, the vertices, circles at the bottom, because those were out of place. As you can see at the top as well, I also extruded up, which I'm about to do in a second, after I add my first modifier, which is the solidify. I set that to 0.06 meters, which allows me to be able to, which allows a user, potential buyer, or anyone like that to be actually able to see the whole vase, right? There are other ways of making vases like this in Blender, which some of them involve using a curve and then a screw modifier, but the issue with that is that it's very overcomplicated, right? Because modeling like this is something that you're going to do a lot, and if you're just using screw modifiers all the time, then you're not going to really get used to that. As you can see, I realized that the circles were a bit wide, so I ended up shrinking them back a bit. So one of the things that were important is that you fill in the bottom, right? And then you add the subdivision surface modifier to like even it all out and make it all smooth. The reason why we fill in the bottom is because obviously a vase is filled in bottom, but we do that white before a solidify modifier has been applied so that it actually holds that shape, you know. It actually makes that shape and actually thickens it. Then I added the old vase to a new collection just so you could hide it. And I turned off like the view layer or something, and then I kept going with that, the new one. And then eventually what happened was that I hid the new one. Yeah, I hid it, and then we move on to the next one, which is the, I believe, the plane. Yeah, it's the plane. These references are a pain in the ass to scale, I can say that for sure, because that by itself takes a fair amount of mental processing power, just scaling the plane by itself. Then we go on to into building the body of the vase. So what you didn't see was that I just performed an extrusion and a rotation 45 degrees, right? The reason why I cut all of this out was because very easy to explain, you don't really need to see it, and there was a lot of just me tinkering around with like the different shapes in that section of the video, so I edited it all out, I cut it all out. And then what we're doing here is that because this kind of, at the top it kind of scales down, but going up it's kind of uniform, right? So what I've done is that I've added a loop cut near the top, and I've dragged it out. So after I finished doing all the stuff for the vases, with the vases like the geometry and stuff, and the materials and texturing are pretty simple. So that'll be a quick uh thing that I show next episode. I ended up making a final render, which will also be on the screen on the right, and that final render was the replica of the reference, right, to the best of my ability. So yeah.